What's going on, guys? Dropadooski here. Today we are going to be going over the Season 10 solo meta for Diablo 3. I am going to go through the top of the seasonal leaderboards on the PTR currently for each and every class and go over the variations that I'm seeing thus far. I will put timestamps in the description below so that you can jump directly to the class that you're planning on playing already, or you can go through them if you haven't seen or if you haven't figured out what you're going to play for Season 10. I will state now that if there are any changes on the PTR in the upcoming weeks that make things either viable or no longer viable, I will make a follow-up video so that you guys are aware of these changes if they come through. But as we are 5 days away from the end of Season 9 and a little under 3 weeks away from the start of Season 10, I do think that we're getting very close to a stable setup for the classes that we're going to see for Season 10, so I don't expect any huge changes to come through going forward. So starting out, we will start with the Barbarian. Now, the Barbarian has 2 builds in the top 12 slots on seasonal leaderboards, one of which being the Whirlwind Barbarian. Now, the Whirlwind Barbarian has been very, very strong in Season 9. It's going to continue to be strong in Season 10. We have they are using the 6-piece Wrath of the Waste set with Convention of the Elements, Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac, and then this is either going to be a Hellfire Amulet or Eye of Etlich or another Resistance Amulet. And then there are variations on the bracers where there can be Nemesis if you're using Little Rogue Slanderer, or Ancient Parthenons if you're using the Volkathos Solemn Vow and Warrior's Blood. This build is very, very strong, but it's not my favorite Barbarian build. And I'm going to go over the other one that is in the top 12 right now. I think Earthquake is more fun to play. Earthquake is very, very viable. This one is utilizing the change to the Rumble rune for Seismic Slam, which enables you to dump all of your fury with one slam. And with this change and the ability to use this skill, you can utilize the Bridle of Giants, which increases earthquake damage after a seismic slam. You can also use Bracers of Destruction, but I do think Ancient Parthenons are better because the survivability on this build is very, very low. Most Barbarian builds are very, very squishy, and they don't push as high as other classes. I do not think Leapquake is going to be as strong as Whirlwind, but I do think it is very, very viable, and we will see it towards the top of the leaderboards. Just to quickly go over what this is, it's 6-piece Might of the Earth set with a Blade of the Tribes and then Focus Restraint and a Hellfire Amulet. I will link below a guide to both my Whirlwind and Leapquake builds so that you guys can watch get an in-depth look at these builds, how I play them, and how you would play them for Season 10. Now we'll jump over to the Crusader. Now the Crusader currently has 2 builds in the top 12 slots on the seasonal PTR leaderboards, one of which is the Hammerden builds. Now the Hammerden build was also very strong in Season 9, and I do think it's going to be either the strongest or second strongest build in Season 10. We don't see any lawn Crusaders in the top 12, but I do think that that's just because getting lawn gear is a pain. So it does take a good portion of the season to get solid lawn setups, and the lawn Crusader is going to be very, very strong. But what we see here is them utilizing 6 pieces of the Seeker of the Light set with Joanna's Augment and the Guard of Joanna's Shield, with Unity, T-Pledge Compass Rose, and Gabriel's Vamp Bracers, and also the Sacred Harness for this Crusader build. It's very, very strong, does a ton of AoE damage, and it's pretty fun to play. The other thing that we're seeing here on the top 12 is the Roland's Crusader. Now, Roland's did get a buff this season. It does now increase the damage by 2,500% for Sweep Attack and Shield Bash. So this variation is the 6-piece Roland setup with Thunder God's Vigor and then Golden Flint and Denial with Strong Arm Bracers, Conventions, and T-Pledge Compass Rose. I don't know if this is. I would assume this is going to be the the third strongest out of the three, which would be Lawn, Hammerden, and then this. But it is nice to see that there is going to be some variety for all of the classes going forward for this season in regards to the solo meta. And when I say variety, it's variety that can push decently high. Now, there will always be an outlier for every class. But if you do like the Rollins setup and the Rollins play, it is viable for Season 10. Moving forward, we'll take a look at the Demon Hunter. Now, there are 2 Demon Hunter classes that we're seeing in the top 12. There are also many others, just like the Crusader, that I just don't think we're seeing yet. The number 1 slot is 6-piece Natalia's with 2-piece Shadow, using Focus Restraint and Wraps of Clarity and Eye of Etlich. And then a melee weapon here. Now, this one is primal and very, very good. This is a lightning build. I don't know a ton about Demon Hunters, but I have seen this setup also using the Hellcat Waistguard on both the seasonal and non-seasonal leaderboards, pushing very, very high. So this is definitely something you should look into if you're planning on playing Demon Hunter for your solo setup for Season 10. The other thing that we've seen here, and which is super hype because it's also part of the 4-man meta, is the Shadow DH. Now, this utilizes the 6-piece Shadow Mantle set with Chain of Shadows, the recently reworked Holy Point shot, which Impale throws 2 additional knives, and all 3 of those knives do the same burst damage. So this thing does so much damage. And then the Carly's Point. Another thing to point out about the Carly's Point is that it's going to be very easy to roll Primal Ancient. There are only 2 daggers for the Demon Hunter that are potential legendaries. So when upgrading daggers in the cube, you're going to have very high chances of getting a Primal Ancient Carly's Point. So that is something to keep in mind if you're going to be maining Demon Hunter for your solo play. This build is also a very viable Rift Guardian killer for the 4-man meta groups, which is super awesome. It's really awesome to see Demon Hunters having a spot in the 4-man meta. And I will put a link to my 4-man meta video below so that you can take a look at the different variations that are available. These are the only 2 setups that we're currently seeing in the top 12 for DH, but I do know that the Marauders Demon Hunter is still very, very strong. There are also multiple variations of the Grenade Demon Hunter that we'll also see on the leaderboards, and as always, the Yang's Recurve Multi-Shot Demon Hunter is still going to be very, very strong for speed farming stones or pushing all the way up into the 80s. So there's a lot of variation for Demon Hunters this season, and they are also in the 4-man meta. Now, the Monk has potentially the most variety out of all the classes that we're seeing. Just in these top 4, they're all different builds. So number 1 is a 6-piece Inna, 2-piece Raiment with the Shenlong's Fist, T-Pledged Compass Rose, and a Unity. With the recent buff to Innas, which now gives it 125% damage per Mystic Ally instead of 100, the previous buff from Season 9, the Inna set is super, super strong. And it is going toe-to-toe with the standard Raiment setup that we have seen through the past 3 seasons. So I think there's going to be a lot of variations of this. Wolf Crier, another YouTuber, has his Burning Monk, which uses Inna's, Uliana's, and Shenlong's Fist. That's going to push a lot higher than it was able to this season. And then there are other Inna's variations. As we look through these, number 2 is the Lawn LTK Monk. Now, this doesn't utilize any of those buffs we just talked about, but it is also still super, super strong. One of the big benefits of the Monk is not only that it has 4 or 5 different variations that can hit leaderboards in regards to solo, but it still has its slot in the 4-man meta with the Support Monk. So the Support Monk is pretty much the only healer in the game, and it's standard for every group meta out there, and it has been for a long, long time, from 2-player all the way to 4-player. So it's very, very safe to create a Support Monk if you are looking to gain more Paragons for the season. This is the Lawn LTK. I haven't played this build a ton myself. I do know it's much tankier than the Sunwuko LTK, and it's very, very strong and can push very high. The third build on this list is Inna's EP, and this is the old school Inna's EP that Quinn used in Season 4 and has been around for a long, long time. There are some of these Inna's EP builds on the leaderboards this season, but with that 125% buff that we're getting now, I think it's going to go toe-to-toe with the Raiment Generator Monk this season. I think this is a super strong build. It could potentially be in the top 5 slots. This uses 6-piece Innas with the Inna's Reach, Crudus Boots, Leffies, and Gundo Gears. This is an EP-based build, if you're not familiar with it. And then number 4 is your standard Raiment Monk. This monk has not been nerfed and is still very, very strong. Now, I don't hype this build because it's been very, very strong for the past 3 or 4 seasons, and it's not going anywhere. It is also a viable option for the RG killer, the Rift Guardian killer, for groups. So if you are a super hardcore monk player, you do not have to switch to either the Shadow DH or the Hydra Wizard. You can still play this, and it's still going to do very well, and your group can still push very high, as it has. It's pretty unrivaled in its ability to stack Vein of the Stricken, which is super important for killing a Rift Guardian. That's pretty much all of the builds we're seeing in the top 12, but as I said, there are multiple variations of Innas. I will put a link in the description to Wolfcrier's Monk meta for Season 10, where he goes over a lot of the different builds for Monk, and can give you a more in-depth look at more of the builds that we're seeing outside of these 12 here. Going on down to the Witch Doctor. Now I'm super hyped about the Witch Doctor, not because there's a lot of changes, but because I'll be playing Witch Doctor in Season 10. I haven't played one in a long time, and this is my second favorite class in the game, first being Barbarian. No surprises here. The number 1 slot is the Firebats Witch Doctor. This Firebats Witch Doctor does a ton of damage. It is the standard class for the 4-man meta in regards to clearing the Grift itself and not fighting the Grift Guardian. It does super high amounts of burst AoE damage, and is really, really good for the 4-man meta and for solo. It's a little squishy, but it does do very well. There are 3 different classes that we're going to see on Witch Doctor. If we take a look at rank 3 here with an 87, this has the 6-piece. This is your standard Helltooth Garg Witch Doctor. It has 6-piece Helltooth with Mask of Jaram, and then Sacred Harvester, which is the weapon that basically every Witch Doctor class uses and has used for many seasons now. It's just so strong. And it's still a very strong class. Now, I don't expect to see this being pushed very heavily, as the Firebats does outperform this setup pretty single-handedly. It's very easy to push a lot higher with Firebats, but this is a lot more tanky, and it's a lot of fun to play. If you've never played the Gargantuan Witch Doctor, I definitely recommend that you check it out. And then if we go down to rank 4 here, this is the interesting change setup for this season. The Zunimasi set got a pretty substantial buff to pet damage this season, and we're seeing a lot of Zunimasi Witch Doctor solo setups that are pet based, right? So it's still Gargantuan and Fetish Army damage, but it's Zuni rather than Helltooth, where you're wearing 6-piece Zuni. The shoulders can vary. It can either be Pauldrons of the Skeleton King for the extra, oh shit passive, or the Corruption Bracer, Corruption Shoulders that are craftable at the vendor. And then there's T-Pledge Compass Rose, Shortmans, Conventions, and Lakumbas with your standard Sacred Harvester here. There is a speed farming setup for Zuni that I know Bloodshed did. I watched the video the other day. I will put that in the description below, as Zunimasi is the set that you get for the seasonal journey. And Witch Doctors are in the 4-man meta, and they have been for a long time. So if you're looking for a meta class to play, even if it's not particularly your solo, you can go Firebats, although if you're going to go a damage dealer in the 4-man meta, that should probably be your main, because you have to augment heavily. You have to put a lot of work into it. Whereas a support, as long as you're optimally rolled, you can effectively play support in 4-mans and get in public groups and community runs. Last but not least, we are going to take a look at the Solo Wizard. Now, the Solo Wizard has 2 variations of the same build in the top 12. They're all Lightning Whiz. Lightning Whiz has been super hype for all of Season 9 and Season 10. It's going to be doing very, very well. With the #1 slot here going to the Hydra Wizard. Now, there was a nerf to this Manald heal for Season 10, as it is pushing insanely high in Season 9. When using channeling abilities, the Manald heal damage proc will proc 25% less than it is doing on live servers currently. So when you're in Archon using your laser, it's going to proc 25% less, but they did add that Hydras, the Lightning Hydras, can proc Manald heal, and this is not not nerfed. So this will proc just as often as it is doing in Season 9, and this setup is not only doing very well in solos, but it also is pushing very, very high GRs with 4-man meta. So this is one of the 3 variants for the Rift Guardian killer for the 4-man meta in Season 10, and it's very, very strong. I made a Lightning Whiz myself this season, and I'm really, really enjoying it. And just to speak towards the current Lightning Whiz, which is what we're seeing here, this is nothing different from the one we're seeing in Season 9. And with a 96 down, it's still very, very strong, even with the nerf to the Manald heal procs. This is your 6-piece Rosh, 2-piece Veers, or 3-piece Veers, excuse me, with the Ransler's Folly Twister setup here with Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac and a pig sticker as the weapon. Pig stickers are very easy to get for Wizard, just as the Demon Hunter only has very few daggers that it can roll. The Wizard only has 3 available legendary daggers that it can roll, so the chance of getting a primal pig sticker is going to be a lot higher than getting a primal Hydra weapon. So that is something to keep in mind when pushing solo. This is a really fun build to play, and it's pushed very, very high. I believe that the only reason they put the 25% nerf in there is because we're seeing people, last I checked, there was a 110 down solo in Season 9, so we're getting crazy numbers off of this Wizard, and we're still going to get crazy numbers. It's just going to proc a little bit less. So that's the rundown of all the classes for Season 10. I do like to use the seasonal leaderboard because it gives us a better look at what people are doing with realistic paragons. I did take a look at the normal leaderboards, and they are very, very similar to the non-seasonal. They're just pushing much higher. They also, they have 4,000 paragons. But all the same builds are showing up on that leaderboard as they are on the seasonal leaderboard. I quickly want to do a shout out to all my subscribers on YouTube. The channel has been growing like crazy lately, and also a big shout out to all my Twitch followers. Thank you guys so much for the support. This is what I do full time now, so I am making YouTube content and streaming 5 days a week on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/Dropadooski. Feel free to stop in anytime and ask me questions or just shoot the shit. We have a lot of fun in there. And we try to keep it as entertaining as possible. Please like and subscribe. If you aren't already subscribed, please subscribe. We're going to be doing lots of Diablo 3 content, maybe a couple other games mixed in here and there as well. And I want to know what you guys are planning on playing for Season 10, or how you feel about the meta. I think that this season has got more variety than we're typically seeing in the solo area, with multiple different builds for every single class that is going to be able to push decently high. So I'm really excited about it. Of course, there could be there could be even more variety, but this is great to see that they're making good progress. So let me know in the comments what you're planning on playing, and how you feel about the upcoming Season 10. Thanks again, everybody, and good luck in the Griffs. Good luck on that last week of Season 9, guys. Peace.